Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Jordan with Big Boy Toys, and today I'm going to go over the official document from Ford that they're giving to the dealers on how to fix this axle recall. If you're not familiar with this axle recall, I put a video out a couple days ago that will explain everything about the axle recall and the documentation from NHTSA. This particular video is going to be just about what Ford is going to do to either fix or replace these axles. If you haven't seen my other video about what the axle recall is about, at the end of this video, I'm going to put a link. You can click on it. It'll take you straight to that video. Also in the description box, you can click on the link in there. That'll take you to the video. Also, I'm going to put this document in that description box so you guys can review it for yourself. But yeah, this video is going to be just about what Ford is sending to the dealerships on how they're going to fix this. So yeah, let's get started. Okay, guys, here we go. So like I was saying, this document is from Ford, and they were sending this document to all the dealerships. And this is what is explaining to them how to either fix or repair these Ford axles where the axle wall tubes are too thin. So this is dated August 3rd, 2021, and this is to all U.S. Ford and Lincoln dealers. And this is coming from David Johnson, who is the Director, Service Engineering Operations, Ford Customer Service Division. And you can see this affects the F350 pickup truck 2020 to 2021 models at a Kentucky truck plant. And before you guys with the 250s and the diesel or the 250 and the gas trucks run away, there are some variants of those trucks that do have this same axle underneath it. And if you watch that other video I made, it'll explain everything. And so, yeah, you should probably pay attention to this too. So August 6, 2020 through May 15th, 2021, that's your concern dates. If you're built within those times, probably going to have you're going to have this issue because it's 100% of the vehicles affected. If you don't know where your build date is, go out on your door sticker and look at that. It'll tell you where it's at. Reason for this program: in some of the affected vehicles, a rear axle tube may deform and potentially separate at the spring seat interface. This can potentially cause an axle tube leak, vibration while driving, shuddering upon acceleration, and drive shaft separation. A separated drive shaft results in a loss of motive power while driving, an unintended movement when placed in park if parking brake is not applied. So service action. And this thing's got, here, just to do a little teaser down here, this thing has got all the procedures as far as the pictures and everything that needs to be done and how they need to do it. So yeah, it's a little teaser what we're going to be going into here for a second. So let's get into it a little bit here. Go down. Sold vehicles. Ford has not issued instructions to stop selling, delivering, or driving used vehicles under the safety recall. Owners should contact their dealer for an appointment to have their vehicles remedied as soon as practical. Owners can continue safely drive their vehicle. And here's the thing too, guys, when I show you this later on with these pictures. So if you already have a, basically a, I don't know, for lack of better words, a collapsed axle tube, you're kind of SOL right now because they're going to tell you that you cannot drive your vehicle. It's got to be deadlined, and there are no parts available. No parts available. And we'll get into that here in a minute. Stock vehicles, correct all affected units in your new vehicle inventory before delivery, blah, blah, blah. Owner refunds. This safety recall must still be performed even if the owner has paid for previous repair. Claiming a refund will not close the recall on the vehicle. Ford Motor Company is offering a refund for owner-paid repairs covered by this recall if the repair was performed prior to this date indicated in the reimbursement plan. So the big thing with this is, if you look at my other vehicle, the way I noticed this was on a Facebook post where a guy had, long before this recall came out, was already having this problem trying to get Ford to fix it. They wouldn't fix it. He went out and bought a new or a used axle on his own and replaced it. I think he spent like $2,200 or $2,300 for it. So hopefully that means that they will take care of him and refund him for what he's already done. Rental vehicles, blah, 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 claims preparation, submission, blah, blah, blah. All right, so they're saying inspect axles. It's going to cost 0.3 hours of labor. Inspection past weld spring seats, 1.5 hours. And these are all the part numbers that you'll need to order if you remove these axles. It's got things in here like U-bolts and shock bolts, and it even tells you the type of welder that you're going to need. Here, a Lincoln electric welder or equivalent. Okay, let's go down. We'll blow by all this. This stuff you can read on your own. Let's get into the actual repair. So here we go. Certain 2021 model year F350 pickup trucks equipped with a 6.7 liter diesel engine, single rear wheel axle, spring seat weld. Service procedure: disconnect the battery to the ground. Please follow the workshop manual. Position the vehicle on a hoist. Visually inspect the front of the rear axle housing assembly below the leaf spring seat bracket for damage. So here's the thing right here. We'll pay attention to this number 5 right here. So in inspection results, if there is damage present to either the left or right rear leaf spring brackets, if it's a yes, fails visual inspection, the rear axle housing will require replacement. Currently, parts are not available for this repair. Vehicles cannot be safely driven. So what they're telling you is, let me go to these pictures here. So look at these pictures. These are pretty good pictures they take. So here is basically the seat right here. This is the axle tube. And they're even indicating here in their picture, crushed axle housing. So look at how this whole thing is pushed in right here. You can see it over here. It's all pushed in. Here's this paint flake again. And I was talking in my previous video about what these paint flakes may indicate. You can see it here too. So if your axle is pushed in like this, they're not going to weld it. They're not welding it. They need to replace your entire axle. But there are no axles. So those guys are SOL. And I feel bad for you, especially if these are work trucks. You're hauling a fifth wheel, or you need your truck what goes on and on, but this is really bad for you guys. And you can see this over here. So normally, from what I'm seeing, is they're welded on these sides over here. And well, here, let me go into a couple other pictures. I'll show you what I'm talking about. So if it's a no, further inspection is required. Proceed to step 6. So if you don't have your axle tube pushed in like this, then they move on to step 6. Let's go down to that. Let's see what this says here. The welds on the new rear axle housing assembly may be different than what is on the original rear axle housing assembly and will not require rework. Note: perform this inspection on the L, H, and RH rear leaf spring brackets. Okay, so here's where we get into how they test if you're basically going to get a weld. So using a .002 filler gauge, measure the gap along the rear leaf spring seat bracket to the rear axle housing assembly. Is the gap greater than 0.002 on either the left H or right H side? See figure 2. So if it's a yes, the rear axle housing will require replacement. Currently, parts are not available for this repair. Vehicles cannot be safely driven. If it's a no, proceed to the leaf spring seat bracket interface weld repair procedure. So if you can see in this picture here, he's got this filler gauge. He's basically testing this gap that's between the seat and the tube. And you can see right in here, he's pushing that filler gauge into that. And if the gap is bigger than 0.002, using a 0.2 filler gauge, measure the gap in a rear spring feed, blah, blah, blah. Is the gap greater than 0.002? And here, yes. So if it's bigger, the rear axle housing will require replacement. So if that gap is bigger than that filler gauge, you need replacement. If it's not, then they're going to weld it. So here's where the welding thing comes in. So I was trying to figure out in my mind, like, how is the welding going to fix these tubes being too thin, the wall thickness being too thin? So this is what I'm thinking they're thinking. And for you engineer guys, please feel free to chime in, because I don't know. Those are just educated guesses. But if you look over here, you see these welds over here? So this is welded to this seat. And you can see right here, none of this is welded. So what I'm thinking is because this is the only place that really is taking all the downward pressure. So you can imagine, here's your block. These are your U-bolts. Your leaf springs are up here. You can barely see them. But basically anything, your payload that you're pushing in your bed is pushing down, and it's all coming down to this contact point right here on this weld. And all that weight is being driven in right here, which is causing these tubes to bend down or crush down or collapse down, whatever you want to call it. So their fix is they're going to run weld all the way around the entire seat. And what I'm thinking is they're thinking that's going to help displace all the downward pressure or energy across a larger area on the tube, fixing the problem of these axle tubes crushing down, which I don't know about you guys, but if I'm this guy and it's welding all the way around, that's not a good fix. They need to replace the whole axle, period. I mean, who knows if this is going to hold up or not? I mean, it's just, I don't know. They just need to replace the whole axle. This weld job is, I mean, time will tell if this is a good repair or not, but I just don't feel very confident in it. So if you move on, they're telling you, okay, basically the rest of this leaf spring seat bracket interface weld repair. So all this is basically, they got to take this axle completely off to weld it. So all the stuff in here is just talking about, remove this, remove that, nut here, bolt there. Again, you guys can read all that, how to take this axle off completely. And then they get down to pull the axle off of here. All really good pictures. Okay, use a suitable tool, remove paint from both sides of the leaf spring seat bracket and the outside of the shock bracket. So you can tell here, they've pretty much just grinded off all the paint and basically preparing it for weld right now. They're getting everything nice and cleaned up so they can weld a bead all the way around here. If needed, blow off the joint with air or wipe with a rag or brush. Verified weld setting recommendations and ground. And it's given the thickness of the wire feed, set the welder at 25 volts. Shield gas is 90, 10 argon CO2 shield gas. And I'm thinking, I mean, I hear they got, certified welders that are going to be doing this, but I don't know. If you're a Ford certified welder, do you really, I mean, you guys tell me, I don't know. Do you need to put this kind of instruction in there? Is it just a starting point? Does it help a certified welder? My thinking is a certified welder pretty much knows his stuff and probably doesn't need this. So it kind of, again, it has me concerned is who's welding on these? Is it actually a certified welder that knows what he's doing? Or is it a typical dealer mechanic or whatever? I don't know. A lot of this stuff I know is a worst case scenario. I hope they fix this right. But all right, so here you go. So they got the axle completely out. They put all these covers over it so that way you don't get splatter for any of you guys that weld. And I weld too. I'm not a professional welder. I'm a hobbyist welder. But yeah, you can get a lot of splatter on here and that can be a pain. So they put all this stuff around the axle to prevent any splatter. It says right here, apply anti-splatter spray as needed. So there you go. They grind it all up. Here's where we're going to lay this weld in. So notice, to weld the left side leaf spring bracket, attach the ground to the left side shock bracket. To weld the right side leaf spring, attach the ground to the right side shock bracket. Again, they're telling the welder how to connect the negative. All right, apply weld to leaf spring seat bracket. Inspect weld for coverage and splatter. So here you go, finished product right here. Fill in existing weld, achieve 360-degree coverage around the leaf spring seat bracket. So here you go. They've got this. You can see how high this bead comes off of here. Which, even looking at that, like I said, I'm not a professional welder, but I think that would be burned in more to the tube or the seat. I don't know. You guys chime in. Anyway, so here's their weld all the way around. This goes all the way around. And again, my thinking is this is to help displace the weight that's pushing down on this. Instead of it just being in basically two spots on either edge, it's going to be all the way around the whole entire thing. Remove protective covers, clean new welds, blah, blah, blah. Basically cleaning everything up. Check for, repaint, do all that kind of stuff. And that's pretty much it. So there you have it, guys. This is what Ford is sending to the dealerships. This is their fix. Will it work? I don't know. You guys tell me. Leave your comments down in the comments box and let me know what you think. I would like to be optimistic about it, but I mean, honestly, lucky for me, very, very lucky for me, my truck was built before that. And I don't have these axles, but if I did, I would be screaming from the top of whatever highest building and hear me that I want a new axle. I don't really want this weld repair. I want the regular thick axles. Thank you very much. But yeah, I'll put a link to the other video where all this information originated from. It has to do with the recall. You guys can look over that. I'll put this document into this video. And then, yeah, let me know what you guys think, and we'll catch you on the next video.